Hello friends. Today I thought it might be interesting to talk to you about the keys in which Tuba Skinny play their tunes. Um, sounds a little bit technical, and I know that many of you always say you know nothing at all about music or music theory. I'm going to try to keep it simple, but I do at least need to begin by just letting you understand what I mean by keys. Um, all music in the Western world is written in a choice of one out of 12 keys. And the 12 keys are based on the 12 notes and so on up to. So the key of C, for example, is, if I jump up, the key of F is. So imagine if you chose to play, let's say, When the Saints in the key of C, it would be. If you played it in F, it would be quite a bit higher. Right, so that's what keys are. They're really establishing at what pitch the tune is played. Right now, in jazz music, in traditional jazz anyway, there are 3 keys of the 12 which are used nearly all the time. I would say in about 90% of all playing by jazz bands, there are 3 keys that are used. One of them is B flat, based on that note. One of them is E flat, based on that one, E flat. And finally there is F. And nearly all the tunes the jazz bands play are in those 3 keys. Why is that? Well, there are 2 reasons basically. One is that the fingering for most instruments is fairly comfortable in those keys. And the other reason is that in some of the other keys, it's very difficult for the instrument to be perfectly in tune on some of the lower notes. I know that all sounds a bit technical and there's a lot of physics behind it that I do not even understand, but that, I think, is the explanation. So nearly all tunes are played in those 3 keys. And even when Tuba Skinny, a really wonderful band like that, are playing, most of the time they are in B flat, E flat or F. The next 2 most common keys are A flat and C. There's A flat and there's C. And these are used occasionally. For example, in the days when I used to play in jazz bands, we always played Bogalooza Strut in the key of C. And B flat would be used for such tunes as Just a Little While or Over in the Glory Land. So they were used occasionally. But I've now mentioned 5 keys then, and that leaves 7 more. And you may be thinking, why don't we play in them? Well, as I've said, it's largely because they are so difficult. And yet Tuba Skinny, of course, have defied that piece of information, really. If you look at their work, you will find, for example, you find them playing in the key of G in tunes like Rosalie Blues and I'd Rather Drink Muddy Water. You'll find them playing in A, which is a horribly difficult key if you're playing a trumpet or a cornet. They use that when they're playing things like Eric and Greg together singing I'm Going Back Home. And also there's a famous performance of Erica at the 2014 French Quarter Festival. You'll find it on video, singing Untrue Blues in the key of A. And of course, the members of the band compose tunes as well. And Shay, for example, in her famous Pearl River Stomp, she has a theme at the end of the tune that's played in the, what sounds to me like dreadful key of D flat. Very difficult to get comfortable in that. I know from my jazzing days, the only time we ever used D flat was the beginning of Home in Pasadena, the introduction that goes da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. That's in D flat. So that's a very, very rare key, but there we are. Shay chose to compose something in it. And of course, Craig has been the most astonishing of all. When he wrote that curious piece called Minor Fret a year or 2 ago, he has little episodes in it where he has 8 bars played in the key of E, which is a kind of deliberate clash with the rest of the music in that piece. And again, E is a very, very difficult key to play in. And then one other curiosity about Tuba Skinny is that in 2016 they recorded the CD Blue Chime Stomp. I'm sure all fans will remember that. But the place where they recorded it was called the Tiger Men's Den in New Orleans. And in this place, there obviously was a piano because Shay plays piano in some of the tunes. And when I listened to it, it seemed to me that that piano was very slightly out of tune. It was just about half a note flat. And so when Shay played the piano, the rest of the band, they're so clever, they simply adjusted to her key, the key that the piano seemed to be sounding. So you find, for example, when they played I'm Blue and Lonesome, they played it in the key of G flat, whereas they would normally in concert play it in the key of G. And similarly, when they did Running Down My Man, Erica singing it, they played it in the key of E, whereas Erica elsewhere always sings it in F. So there's a little curiosity. Anyway, looking back over all of this, you ask yourself, is there any key at all that Tuba Skinny can't play in? And I think the answer is obviously no. They are so good they can adapt to any key. But I think, as far as I can recall, they've never recorded anything in the key of B, which would be absolutely horrendous for a trumpet and probably for a clarinet as well, and very difficult for the trombonist. So I may be wrong there. If anybody knows of a Tuba Skinny tune in B, please let me know by writing it in the comments underneath. By the way, how do I know what these keys are? I wish I had an absolutely wonderful ear that I could just listen to a tune and say, that's in the key of F. But I'm afraid I can't. I've tried and I can't. So the way I do it is I listen to a short portion of whatever Tuba Skinny are playing, and then I press the pause button and I find it on my keyboard and try 2 or 3 times till I get it right. And then I can see what my fingers are doing and where they're taking me. I can see what key we're in. So that's how I've identified these keys. I hope I haven't made any mistakes in doing so, but that's my method. Right, well, I hope you found that interesting. I'd like to do some more videos of this kind where I talk to you about aspects of traditional jazz. So if you've got any ideas for other topics that you'd like me to do, please let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, goodbye for now.